Hey guys, good morning, and I'm back with an interesting video with lively examples. So today our main topic of discussion is measurement for the evaluation of morale. But before going into the measures which are useful to evaluate morale, I just wanted to give you a small tip. Guys, I've seen so many seniors of mine stating that, there's lots of stress in the workplace. We can't even handle the stress, and they take so many stress management techniques also. And each and every organization uses that because stress is mandatory for each and any job which you do. And that stress depends only upon your perception. Guys, stress is an individual phenomenon, guys, and you don't even know that your individual phenomenon has a greater impact in a group or when you're working in a team. There's a saying, stress can tear a team apart if feared or ignored, but even the same stress, when taken on a positive note, can stick as glue. Guys, when you are working in a team and you wanted you were being allocated and assigned with so much of task, and you have to work consecutively for so many days for the completion of the project. There's a lot of stress upon you, right? So your individual stress shouldn't impact the group, shouldn't tear the team apart. Your stress, you should hide the stress, and you should work with that zeal and enthusiasm in order to complete the project, because that's going to create a great fame and reputation for you as a team leader, at the same time as a team in your organization. So this is a small tip of today. So guys, coming back to our morale topic, I've told you in our earlier video, we have learned what exactly morale is and what are the both symptoms of low morale as well as high morale. Guys, as an employee working in an organization, our employees are so intellectual that they find ways to evaluate our morale. Because why it is necessary for evaluating morale is because one individual phenomenon called morale can impact the group as a whole. Not only the group, but entire organization culture where you're working. So employers take this particular process very keenly and very cautiously. So you don't even know that these are the methods which an employee use in order to evaluate morale, because they do not bring this particular measure to your notice, because this should be done without the knowledge of the employee who's working in an organization. You can't even expect, these are the measures. After completion of this video, you'll know what these are the measures which an employee used to evaluate a morale. So that's the sort of thinking which an employee and an employer has. So what is the first main measure of evaluating morale? So before going, you might have so many doubts raised in your mind, because in my earlier video I have stated that morale is an intangible thing. How can an intangible thing be measured? Guys, you're right. Besides morale being an intangible and an invisible thing, at the same time it's a subjective matter. In order to measure this subjective nature of an individual, there are measures which help to evaluate, not exactly to the point, but to some basis of at least 75% or 80%, these particular measures can evaluate your morale. So guys, however the people say that morale is intangible, and though I pretend to be very good and I pretend I have a disguised face on me with smiling or with positive attitude, no one can catch me having low morale. That's not the type of attitude which an employee should have in an organization. The employer also has his own ways in order to judge you. So the first most important way of evaluating your morale is observation. Guys, observation is done without your notice and knowledge of you being observed by some person. This is ultimately a supervisory function, guys. This observation is done in a daily routine, because the person who is observing you, I'll just make it in a simplest statement, the observer who is being supervising to you, the person watches you each and every moment in your daily routine. What's your behavior towards your work? What's your behavior towards your colleagues? What's your behavior towards the management, towards the organization, towards the organization culture? These all are the points which he's gonna jot down. Guys, the observer listens you emphatically, guys. And and note your body language also. You wouldn't have never expected your body language also will be taken into consideration, but yes, body language also will be taken into consideration. If the observer thinks there is any deviation or departure of you from your work or from your organization, then he will immediately note down your name. And because observation gives an insight about the employee working, if he thinks that you are having low morale, he's gonna have more concentration towards you, because he have to either notice, like, okay, either your morale is increasing daily or decreasing. The person who is having that observation towards you, the person should be very keen and very sharp observer, because he need to note down even minute thing which you do in the organization. And such is the importance which an observation plays in evaluating your morale. Guys, this is the most accurate method, but it's an old tradition of observing and supervising people, because even there are large number of organizations, it is difficult for the observer to observe lots of employees at the same time, because at one point of time when I'm observing you, you might have so much of positive attitude, but the other time when I'm supervising the other employee, the other colleague of yours, you might have negative attitude, and this might give me inaccurate details about the evaluation of your morale. So this is considered to be a traditional method, but still followed in some organizations where they have small number of employees working for them. So, but still, management should use, if at all they want to use this method, should use this method with great care and caution, with exactly great care and caution, because we are humans, have so many tactics to play, and actually have disguised faces also. So, what is the second most important? Morale survey. Guys, how many of you attend these surveys outside on roads? Like, you get, so many people come from so many organizations in order to know what are you feeling about this particular situation. Besides leaving all those conditions, even now, when you open any app, it's gonna ask you about this COVID-19 lockdown survey. You have so many surveys coming up. These are the online surveys also. So at the same point of time, the organizations also use morale survey. Under this method, a survey is conducted for all the employees to know your feelings about your work, about your organization, about the traditions and rules and regulations which are followed in the organization. So how is this morale survey conducted? Morale survey is conducted in two methods. So first method is your interview. You might think, what interview again? After being employed also, there are so many types of interviews which have to be conducted in order to increase your knowledge. Some are for increasing your knowledge, and some also play a vital role. You have exit interviews also. There are many types of interviews which I'm going to detailedly explain in my upcoming videos, because we have a separate chapter over it. So, what is exactly going to happen under this interview method? So, under this method, employees are going to be questioned rigorously. But they're going to ask you in a pleasant manner. They're going to create the entire situation very pleasantly, that you will feel so comfortable in answering them the questions, because you have no fear of losing the job, you have no fright about your salary, you have no any other grievances. This is just a comfortable interview, sitting with the interviewer and answering his questions. That pleasant situation has a great history backside, that is evaluating your morale. Guys, the most important thing in evaluating your morale is your outward behavior is the manifestation of your inner crust. This is the utmost dialogue which I can actually say while explaining your morale. Your outward behavior shows the manifestation of you, because you inner, whatever you be or you might be as, that's gonna be evaluated. So, what is the main advantage of having an interview as a part of a morale survey? They're going to know about your feelings, they're going to know about your attitude. If you wanted any colleague to change your attitude, you are free bird there, you can answer these all questions. If at all, they also give you a platform to choose, and at the same time they give you a platform to express your freedom of speech and expression. So you can happily speak here, but at the same time answer diplomatically. For all the employees who's listening this, but for the students you have to write these answers. So what, while taking this interview or while conducting this interview, management should keep all these following points in their brains, because you don't know who can cheat at one point of time. So first would be, you should ensure that your employees' honest responses are requested. You need to request them honest responses. At the same time, you need to record them. Your second point with this regards would be open with them, guys. The employees should be open, because it's like the employer has to create that atmosphere of freedom, so that the employee will be able to express his own views without any bias and preconceived assumptions. Then encourage the respondents. Here the respondent means the employees, to comment and speak. You need to give them a chance to speak, right? Then you should listen, the employers should listen empathically and understand them getting into the roots of the situation. Then bring the employee interviewed. After some time, you have to know him accordingly. You need to create this interview discussion as a valid discussion, because later on the employee shouldn't have think that that's such a waste discussion which I've actually had with them, that 1 hour got wasted, I could have completed my project. This is not the type of perception which an employee should have. Then you should design an interview protocol before conducting this interview, because you need to test possible questions which an employer can actually pose to the employee. You need to have a designer protocol there. So though you think the interview is an effective method by evaluating morale, there are disadvantages even to an interview method. First is, it is uneconomical, because I told you selection is an economical process, and at the same time this is uneconomical to use with larger groups. For suppose if you're working in an MNC and that's a large organization, that you're so much of cost effective, then this is the most economical process which you can use. Then it depends upon the interviewer's ability to clearly pose him the questions, because when the employee tries to deviate the topic, even you get deviated, then there is no point of conducting this morale survey. The third point would be the great element of subjectivity. Guys, morale itself is a subjective matter. So the point of subjectivity remains in the interview, because you won't even know who is actually pretending and who is having the disguised face. So you don't even know. So that's the reason interview being the most effective method, it has some disadvantages. So coming to the third, under morale survey, the second most important method of conducting or evaluating the morale is questionnaire. When I listen to this word questionnaire, I get to remember my project in 11th and 12th. Like we are made questionnaires and went to bank customers with regards to knowing which bank services are the best. That's very fun of making questionnaires, guys, and you need to go get into the details of what the customers wrote under the questionnaires. Were literally, we didn't expect such type of answers. We still got so many type of answers like that. There were many questions of just yes or no, and there was just one descriptive question. That was a questionnaire prepared by us, and that was a live project which we have actually taken in hand, and that was the most successful. And being a commerce student, you have to take this project with overwhelmingness, because that what do you say, that experience of talking to so many people with regards to services provided by literally the topmost banks. I'm not going to disclose their names and the responses, but that's the most important project which each and every commerce student has to deal with. That's a good experience which you actually get, and that's a point where you can increase your communication skills also. That is nevertheless point, but still, that's the most wonderful experience which I had as a commerce student. Okay, then leaving apart this my experience, so let us know about this questionnaire method. Guys, in questionnaire, what is the main objective of a person preparing a questionnaire is your opinion will be answered by either two words, just yes or no. And by then I'll get an accurate idea, okay, this guy is thinking so and so about this particular topic, and that gives me literally effective answers. You can actually gain so much of statistical information from this. You can actually do graphs also. Such an important place questionnaires play today. Not only today, but it is also a old technique of measuring morale. So what is questionnaire? Questionnaire is a paper format of having so many questions, multiple choice questions, and little bit of description wherever it is actually needed. But remember guys, questionnaires should never be descriptive, because the customers have, like, suppose if you want the employees make this questionnaire in such a simple format, because the employees, if you take so much of employees time, then he cannot actually allot the time accordingly to his work also. So the questionnaires which you prepare should also be credible enough and should have that quality in order to evaluate a model, and in order you get the answers which you actually wanted from the employees. So questionnaires are most important effective method of evaluating morale, and right now all the MNCs and large organizations use this method because this is very easy. You can solve this questionnaire paper within 5 to 7 minutes, or sometimes it just take 1 to 2 minutes. That depends upon the number of questions which you pose in a questionnaire. So to explain you, not only just yes or no, you can have agree, disagree, totally disagree, neutral, or you have very much satisfactory, comfortable, not comfortable, dissatisfaction, or very dissatisfactory. So it depends upon the way you design a questionnaire. Okay. Now, what are the most vital points which an employee has to put in order to design the questionnaire? Questionnaire should be designed after asking after the interview has done. If still you are not able to evaluate a morale of an individual employee or for a team, then you can use same interview questions but in a remolded form. Like, you need to mold those questions also into simpler statements which have just answer as yes or no, or the earlier stated satisfaction, dissatisfaction. You can use any type of words which can be easily answered by just giving a tick mark to it. Your second point would be questionnaire should be very simple and very short, because you cannot give a questionnaire which is so much time consuming. Then unnecessary and misleading questions should not be posted, because when you post such type of questions, the employee thinks like, what is actually going on with this office? Like, why do they want my personal details, or any other misleading questions which you actually post? Then questionnaires should be structured in such a manner that it should be very keen, very sharp, and it should be straightforward. Exactly, the questionnaires should be very frank enough. You have to be ready in order to accept both the positive and both the negative. Then coming to the last, the preparation of this questionnaire needs a proper planning, because you can't, the questions also which you try to pose should be interrelated to each other. If at all, they need to have a proper order, proper sequence, because when you jumble the questions and give them to the employees, the connection of the questions get lost there. So it should have a proper planning before you design a questionnaire. Next, coming to the third important measurement of evaluating a morale is company's records. What is this company records? So company records is related to the work hours which lost due to strikes, lockdowns. Not lockdown is like, guys, before getting into what exactly company records is, I just want to give a thin line of difference between lockdown and strikes. Lockdown is a form of an agitation which is being done by the government, whereas strike is done by the employee or the lower cadre employee towards his employer or towards any other government or any. That is the public doing against the form of the government, whereas lockdown is the government doing against the public, or not exactly against the public, in order to serve the public. It depends. Strikes can also be done for good purpose and for at the same time in non-bona fide manner. So strikes and lockdown are different. So what is the company records? Guys, company has so many records with respect to your memos regarding to the discipline, your grievances, your working hours which lost due to strikes which have been started by you. It depends what all actually happened in the company. All these records will be maintained by the company in order to for the future purpose. As per the record, they preserve they preserve these status and this data for them. So if these company records which have, like, suppose your grievances or memos against you also will be considered as an important part of the morale. So the company, what is it allots a particular person in order to deal with this company records. He makes an analysis over these records and finds out the people who have low morale and makes a record and daily observes you in a daily routine and makes a record if your morale is increasing or if your morale is decreasing as the previous company record states. So that makes a record whether your morale is increasing or whether your morale is decreasing. That is an employee. What does an employee do in order to increase his morale or in order to decrease his morale? All these information are being allotted to this person, and this person makes a clear record without ambiguity. He elicitedly, what he do is he notes down all the points which you do in the organization. It's just similar to an observation technique, but still it has a previous backup there, because you also been affected as a low morale employee even earlier in the company records, and now if you have a high morale, the concentration over you will get reduced, and the person whose low morale is still being degrading day by day, the concentration will be more upon him. The company tries to evaluate by using so many techniques of morale towards you, because your individual morale should not impact the entire organization culture to which you're working for. So coming back to the fourth important measurement technique which we are going to learn today is counseling. Guys, counseling is also the most effective method, because out of all the first three methods which I've actually explained to you, you get the names who have low morale and who have been deprived of so many things in the organization. But counseling repeals all of this, because as an employer you also have a counselor in your team. So what is the main act of a counselor, what is the main job of it? The counselor has to get into the roots of the situation and try to analyze why the employee is having a low morale, and he tries to boost you and increase your morale in order to motivate you, in order to increase your work efficiency, at the same time thereby relating to productivity of the organization. But counseling is being the most effective method, and as per statistical data, counseling also cleared so many problems, not only in the organization but also in the entire environment, like with regards to many grievances of the employees or morale problems of the employees, remuneration problems of the employees. Such all sorts of problems have been sorted down with counseling. Guys, counseling is a method of diagnosing your mental status. You don't even know, counseling helps the employer to think about your problem very clearly and very cautiously. He wanted to know, today you only are the person who is facing this problem, but with like you reporting about this problem, it can help the employee to understand about, okay, if this is the problem faced by an employee, it means that even in future era he can have the other employees also could face same type of problem. So that's the reason counseling has been used as the most effective method. So these are the methods which are used to measure and evaluate your morale. Guys, prudent management uses all these methods. It's like not all these methods, but any of this method in order to evaluate your morale. And from situation to situation, it depends upon so many types of techniques. And this all the management is doing only for the welfare of the employees, guys. Because it applies observation, it compares the surveys, it prepares questionnaires, it gets to know the answers, then it tries to counsel you. So these 4 steps are also so much interrelated to each other, right? So to raise the morale of an individual or an person in a team or in the entire members in a team, counseling will actually work so well. So that's all for today, and in the upcoming video we're going to know about what are the important traits for improving morale. Guys, we are exactly what we repeatedly do, but excellence then shouldn't be an act, it should be a habit. So each and every time try to learn new things and grow up like saplings. Thank you, and stay tuned for the upcoming video.